This is the John Hallett Podcast with John Hallett.
Because the way we're living, we need to change it, make it change today. And all learn from failure. Maybe they just wanted it a little bit more than you. That's probably the fact.
And now your host, John Hallett.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining us today. How are you guys doing out there? Please comment. We are live on Facebook today. So if you've got questions, you want to add your 2 cents, we'd love to hear it because I don't know everything. Josh does.
I'm coming in now. No, I don't. I mean, I try my best.
I was going to say no, Josh doesn't, but he knows more than me. All right, he's setting this thing up. Otherwise, I don't know if we would actually be set up. So, what are we talking about today, Josh? You told me I'm like,
we've got a few things, kind of like soft kids, what's going on in schools these days, and then just training in general. But I kind of want to start with training because we just had a heck of a morning getting everybody trained. So I was watching the
Peaceful Warrior
class and just watching some of the grappling and how much work, like you don't realize how much of a workout training is.
Yeah, working that sprawl defense, somebody trying to take you down as you're trying to get back up.
Right.
Is what we were working on today. Trying to get up off the ground and somebody's trying to tackle you back or go for a single leg, double leg. That's really hard, even just working it slow and clean and trying to let people work through.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
good
workout.
Like when Jeff, he's one of our bigger fighters here, and when he gets on top of you, oh my gosh. Like, it's hard enough when John was on top of me and we're grappling and I can't breathe, and we put somebody who exceeds like 200 pounds and suddenly it's like,
yeah.
And you're like, find your fight breath, Josh, you'll be fine. I'm like,
breathe, Josh, breathe.
It was so hard, dude. Oh my gosh. But I mean, we really want people to have a good relationship with training. So what would you say to those who are like on the verge or on the fence right now? If you guys have comments,
I've had a couple guys and they said they wanted to start with the fitness program, and I mean, that's fine.
Yeah.
But both of them, I'm like, you can do our Krav Maga program. You're gonna get in shape. Don't worry about it. But I think that's really common. Like, I'm like, hey, the workouts are tough too. I'm like, they're not quote easy, but you got to pace yourself through. We've had 70, 80-year-old members in the gym. You just got to go at your own pace. Actually, it was with yesterday's crazy tornado warnings and hail. I had really small kids classes yesterday. I had them all be the assistant instructor.
Yeah.
And I was trying to be really quick, and then I had to quickly remind them that they were the assistants, and they could, of course, like the first girl, and her brother's in the class as well. The dad's a member as well, so it's great seeing the whole family. I'm in there, but now sister's like 100 burpees, and I'm like, hey, as the assistant instructor, you have to do it too. You're getting warmed up to train with everybody else as the assistant. Don't forget, I'm the instructor. I've done all this stuff before. I wouldn't make anybody do anything that I haven't done before. Sure. But I can't warm up. I'm not doing every single class. I'm the instructor. Sometimes I'll get myself moving a little bit, even just for demonstrations. But it was just funny. And then I had my teens do it. And they all had I think there was like 4 or 5 max in there. The time they get through with their like 2 to 3 minute warm up, like they're all red faced, like especially the elementary school kids. But you just have to start. That's what it's about. Whatever you're gonna do, you want to start playing tennis. Well, go out and play tennis. Like, well, hold on, I'm gonna walk around the block and hey, start playing. And getting that actual real feedback, because you're not really doing self-defense if you're playing a video game. If you're working out, you're not getting that stuff. Things can be slow. We strive to be beginner friendly and just like, hey, have that feedback. Hey, can you slow it down for me? Some points of advice that I was giving even my adults last Friday, we had a lot of 101 stuff going on. In that class. I only teach it once a week, the beginners at that time slot. And was going to him like, guys, you got to give feedback to the person. You know, one thing you can do is like, hey, you're really fast. Can you just slow it down for me because I'm not as fast as you? Then you complimented the person. It's not getting any egos involved, like, hey, stop going so hard. And people like, you're going hard. Well, people, it's really tough to figure out training. You can go slow. You know, of course, some of our training wants to be hard and hitting pads, but a lot of partner work, it's like stupid YouTube. Like, oh, that was a compliant person. You're like, it's a demonstration for kids, or it's a demonstration. People are trying to see it. Like, and who wants to get punched in the throat?
I know, right?
Like, you got to simulate some of this stuff. You actually have to do real sparring. You know, it's where some people like, hey, I'm going to kick you or punch you in the groin. That's Krav Maga. Somebody might punch you in the groin. You know, I think a lot of fighters out there, how are you going to deal with it? You know, it makes some people mad. It's not an end all be all, but you got to get hit.
Yeah.
It's all part of it, you know, and that's sparring. That's not beginner stuff and starting. Like we kind of started this little conversation off on, but it's about, you know, feedback and, you know, helping people out. That's where suck less comes from. You know, try to get a little bit better. Try to help your partner. Try to help the community. Try to help everybody suck a little bit less. We've actually got Jamie and I are working on, she's working on all the pictures and stuff for me on a 10 steps to sucking less downloadable little ebook.
That's nice.
Out there that will be coming.
I can't wait to read.
Soon. So yeah, you need to read it.
I do need to read it because...
Can you cue up the little like audience like laughing?
Oh, yeah, I wish you'd told me that. I mean...
I'm just kidding. You know I love to bust on you.
I know.
I love you, Josh. I only make fun of you because I like you.
Really? It doesn't... You hit me a lot. Does that mean
if I didn't like you, I wouldn't make fun of you.
Oh, well, thank you. I think.
You think?
I think. There have been days you put me into the ground and I'm like, I think he likes me. I'm pretty sure he does.
I think this is like a little fight. It's just a little bit of love, Josh. That's what.
Oh, I know.
Ernie Kirk from Philadelphia.
I just remember.
Fantastic guy. Ernie Kirk gave me that one.
Yeah.
Just showing you a little bit of Krav Maga love. It's just a little bit of love.
Yeah. You really showed it the day that Todd was in with our IDS training, and there were a couple times you put me in the ground. We'll say gently. And I'm sitting there talking with Todd, and he's like, "Yeah, he's just being nice to you. He's just showing you what you're missing."
Yeah. Oh, or like, Ike? Oh. Was it? Oh, yesterday you mean Ike?
That was with Todd. Ike says the same stuff in wrestling too.
Yeah,
if you didn't
Todd was saying that. Ike was saying the same thing, and in wrestling. So some of you don't know, right? Our coach, like, not only going to different certifications and stuff, and ongoing training that we try to do, you know, especially after the stupid COVID, things are even getting more ramped up that I see around there. But, you know, that's the part of the IDS, you know, training and getting better as instructors. We have a wrestling coach that comes in and works with the instructors.
It is so much fun. It's
early in the morning.
Wrestling is so hard. Like I was talking about before, when you just have somebody on top of you, like that is a huge challenge. And now it's a fight, it's a wrestle, right? And you're like, man,
yeah,
but it's worth it. I mean,
it's fun. You know, you just got to keep it fun.
Yeah.
When somebody wants to, when you're going to start something, you just have to start and do it. And it doesn't have to be, you know, you're not going to be perfect at the beginning. You know, sometimes I think people like, I'm going to get really good before I start, or really in shape.
No, just show up and get good. Just train. Just train. That's all I ever like tell people. And it's pretty crazy the excuses I'm starting to hear because I've been here so long now. People just are like, well, I don't know. I don't have the time, or I'm just out of shape and I got to get into shape. And I'm like, well, really? Just show up. Wouldn't you rather get into shape with somebody else instead of on your own? And are you going to do it on your own?
Yeah, so many people just don't. It's the rare individual that is going to get in shape all on their own, right? That's definitely hard for people to do and self-motivate. There's definitely people out there
that can do it.
You know, I feel like I'm one of those people. I can do it, but you know, there's some days that I'm like, oh, I could vacuum the gym, or you know.
Yeah. Just finding motivation around people is hard enough, let alone trying to get up on your own and do it.
Yeah. So having a group, you know, that's definitely, I think, helps out a lot of people. So
Well, fitness is a crazy thing. So, what do you think fitness is like in high school right now? If you had to put a gauge on it, is it different than what
Well,
you
right, isn't it
experienced?
like an opt-in? Like they don't have it
Wait, you get to
every
opt? No, no, no.
year.
They get to opt into gym?
Well, I don't think they physically not I'm not positive. Yeah, like see, I'm a bad parent. Wasn't I saying that
We
earlier?
didn't want to say. Well, I didn't want you to say it, but you did. So,
Hey, we're all I'll tell you my joke in a minute, but that you know, I think they don't have to take it all 4 years. I think they do like
I
they
did.
could do like my daughter and stepson, are doing we got one that's going to be a freshman next year, but
Really?
they do strength and conditioning class, but I think I don't think Lucy has that this semester. I mean, they're changing things up at CV. It's kind of going back
Yeah.
to like traditional, like we did, like 6 classes a day where they were
Yeah.
doing whatever. I don't know what they were doing, but yeah, I know like Lucy's inundated with chemistry, and she does tutoring twice a week.
Chemistry's hard. I mean, good for her though. I mean, if she ends up
Yeah,
becoming a
she's with
chemist, I
her.
mean,
My like probably all the kids are smarter than me, but my oldest is they're all smarter than me. So I thought I shut this off, Josh.
I
I'm
did
sorry.
too. That's okay. I don't even know where my phone
think
is.
it
It's probably
broke through.
downstairs.
Yeah, your phone's downstairs. I threw
Well,
it in the
see, that's
trash.
good. Glad we locked the doors. What has happened? School's just different than it used to be, man. It just, and I don't have kids in school, so full disclosure there, I don't have kids. So what I'm operating off of the whole 1990s high school kid experience, right? And it was gym class in the morning, band in the afternoon, and then usually sport in the afternoon. But I did a lot of, actually, if you didn't know, I was an arts person, which makes a lot of sense. But I mean, there was almost always a requirement to do gym. We had to do something called a portfolio, and in it, you had to have so many exercise hours, so many training hours. And at the time, I thought that was the stupidest thing ever, right? But I look
Yeah.
back at it now, and I'm like, they were trying to give me a healthy relationship with exercise. And I was
Yeah.
too dumb to see it, right? I'm just a dumb kid. You know that 15-year-old boy mentality, the ego. You're like, whatever. It's not doing anything for me. So is
Yeah.
it different now from what I've just described to then, right? I mean, what does it look like now as a high school student? I don't even know.
Yeah, me either. I mean, they've got their classes, and God, they can leave. We couldn't leave for lunch. Our kids can leave.
Really?
Like,
Off
yeah, I mean,
campus,
they're
huh?
all. I mean, God, somebody was just saying that I'm gonna forget what university, but like everything on the university is now like Chipotle, Chick-fil-A, Panda Express. There's like the cafeteria stuff is really just gone.
So we had
So
we had pizza and Chick-fil-A in
you
my high
did?
school when I was a kid.
Well,
And
we
we
didn't
thought it
have
was
any
great.
fast food on Nantucket Island anyways, so
You didn't have that there, huh? Oh no,
no.
our school
We
had
had
I had
tacos and Steamboat Pizza
the
and
small businesses. Yeah.
Henry's Sandwich Shop. Some
Did
so
you miss any of those sandwiches from there
oh
as a
Henry's
diversion?
sandwiches. Oh,
Yeah,
they
what
were
was your
so
favorite there?
good. They were so good.
Oh, I want a good sandwich now.
So yeah, I mean they have, I think things are tougher for them now in some ways. They got cyberbullying, and you can't just,
Yeah.
go home and be on your own. There's, people reaching out and Snap and all that other stuff. But yeah, exercise, unless they're in sports, they're probably not doing anything. And it's really sad. I think, I don't know where we go from here. I mean, who knows where people are joining this podcast, and it maybe took a second, but this is really kind of what we wanted to talk about. And I think I could get better as a parent. I was joking around with the kids, and I had like told them like 5 times, I am kidding. Do not go back home and tell your parents. Like this is totally, I'm just joking around, but we're all getting better. I'm like, that's why your parents have 2 kids, because the first one, that they're just experimenting. They're your first kid.
Did you say that to kids for real?
Yeah,
Come
Josh,
on, man.
I did.
That's so
And
messed
like the
up.
oldest, and the reason I said it because I had a bunch of older siblings, and then like they always like dominate over the younger
Yeah,
one,
yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah,
And
yeah.
they're like, and I'm like, Oh yeah, so they have a second one because they're making mistakes with you, they messed up, got a second chance.
Oh,
I
that's
mean,
so
it's back
hilarious.
to,
I'm the
it's
oldest kid,
probably
so
Bill
yeah.
Cosby, and even though he's been, what he did was
It
ridiculous.
was bad.
It makes me sick. But he was a funny comedian.
I loved
I
him
think it
back in
was
the
like,
day.
or maybe it was somebody else, like, right? Like brought you into this world, I'll take you out of this world, comedian back there in the 80s or 90s that, you
Oh
know,
yeah.
we're getting better as parents. I know I am, and I look at, things that I do and you think it was right. And just, what we were talking about last week, like Civilized to Death. I think it's a fantastic book, and we've got to make a change somehow, or I don't know what's going on.
Hmm.
Like, honestly, I mean, I'm very optimistic, but you kind of look at things going on and you look at this book and you look at just where we've gone even in the last 10 years, 20 years, you just start compounding out and going, we thought we were doing right. Even, parents back to, the milk carton kid and get the kids sheltered and, oh God, they might get abducted. I mean, it is ridiculous, the stats on that. It's safer now to go out and play outside than it was when we were kids. It's just crazy that we could all get better. I'm by no means perfect. Um, that's one reason I do the podcast that, hey, there's a little bit of your dad out there talking, just
Mm.
being himself. I got to work with my father and, being on a job site and, you get to see another side of your parent that wasn't, quote, dad. It was, the business side.
Hmm.
My kids have been around the gym when they were little, but they're getting old, like, they're older and older. So it's one reason I do this, that there's, just a little bit more of a piece of their dad, I guess. But I'm trying to figure it out. And you look at things, you're like, should you have given them the cell phone? When do you give them the cell phone? How much TV? I mean, there was a
Right.
stat that it was like every 10%, no, every hour, I guess, of TV that when they're toddlers and that age group, that they're
Yeah.
more likely to suffer problems from attention deficit disorder and all these other things that you look at and you're like, what are we doing?
Hmm.
But you're like, hey, we've got to work and both parents have got to work and you got to try to pay for the house. And, geez, like these people over here went on vacation to Hawaii. Like, oh, geez, their life looks so great. We should go to Hawaii. We've got to be working. It's just, it's just so hard to where we're at. I kind of look, sometimes I'm like, I'd really like a pickup truck. I miss my pickup truck. I love my Jeep. I can get off road with it. But, sometimes day to day, you're like, well, geez, Josh, can you take me to Home Depot and get
Right.
some plywood in your pickup truck? I mean, yeah, and that works, like, right? That's back to the tribal thing. Like,
Right.
yeah, do you really need it? Can you just ask a buddy? But, oh gosh, and I'm like, but now, buy a used one, but you still gotta buy, you
But
still
you
gotta
gotta
buy
insure
it.
it.
You still
Right.
gotta insure it.
Yeah.
And you're just like, it's just, more money. Like, oh, the harder you have to work and keep everything up. So
Sure.
I think where we're at is just really a tricky place in time. We're smart enough to change it, but are we going to change it? And you look at,
Do we want to?
yeah, do people really want to? And you look at how many kids are on prescription drugs and you look at the side effects. I mean,
It's unreal now.
like Civilized to Death. I believe the chapter is, I'll tell you what it is.
Right. That. It's crazy.
It's
He's
it's
going
not
for it.
Turbulence Teens, it's Raising Hell, chapter 7, and then Turbulent Teens. We look at these active shooter stuff and these kids and like how many kids that are diagnosed with ADHD, that I think it's three-quarters of them at least, are on a prescription med with side effects from you that read them yourself,
Yeah.
that anger voices.
You've got to
It's
develop.
crazy. Like we're putting
Yeah.
this stuff on and you go, is this just normal kid behavior? But we're trying to get these kids to sit in their chair and learn. and we're trying to fight how we evolved. And that's a better
Yeah.
topic for you, and how we evolved as an anthropologist. That you're like,
Yeah.
we're trying to fight this. Oh, so let's just change your brain chemistry.
Exactly.
Billions, guys. It's just alone on ADHD medication. Billions of dollars these people are making. Why do they want to change us? Why do they want to change? We need to make the change here that these companies shouldn't be on TV.
Yeah, the
And
commercials.
we got to take a hard look at this stuff. Like, we didn't need this. We did not. Kids did not need this. And now all of a sudden, every kid's got to be on. They can't sit still. Maybe the school system should change.
Yeah,
Maybe
kids,
how we're teaching kids should change.
I would argue we don't know what kids' behavior really is, right? We have this idea as educators and parents that they should be X, but when you grew up, you didn't fall into any bins or piles, right? Kids are just all over the place. So first thing I'd argue is we don't know what normal behavior is. Second, you're trying to give kids a bunch of drugs during their developmental years with their brains. And when you introduce a drug like that, how does that affect brain chemistry and long-term growth, you know? And we're seeing generations of some really odd side effects starting to pop up, right? Autism's at an all-time high. You know, why did that increase? Attention deficit disorder, you know, everyone says it might be on an increase, but if we don't understand what human behavior is at that age, truly, then ADHD just could be some sort of name we put on a behavior that kids have that is just
It's
part of
natural.
being normal.
It's
right?
normal. It's normal kid
Yeah.
behavior. Like,
Watch John teach a kid's class. You know, watch him teach a teen's class. The teens are pretty good because they're at that stage where they'll listen to you, but even then, it's just hard getting them to focus, right? I mean, it's part of being learning on top of it. The other thing is, do we recognize when a kid's learning, or do we just consider it odd behavior in a classroom? I don't know. I'm not a teacher, and that's got to be a hard job. But
yeah, being a teacher is not easy whatsoever. You know, in there, I mean, anybody that's going to take on that profession, you know, hats off to them. To be in a classroom all day with these kids is not easy. And then you're battling so much. I mean, just the prescription, like kids on medication.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's normal, boy behavior especially. But same thing, girls, like, are we really supposed to be sitting there all day
the other thing is
in a classroom, and they, you know, recess gets cut short, these different things.
So, boy behavior, right? There is a level of aggression that we have to have. It's just inside of us. We're a primate, like any other primate. There's built-in things about masculinity that we have, and our society is like very anti-masculine. Do you disagree with that statement?
It's out there. It's out there, and I feel like some of these voices are getting magnified for whatever reason. So you're like, what is the truth? Do a lot of people really believe this or not? You know, I don't know. You're like, it's so hard to filter through the noise now, right? I mean, it is just so hard to filter through that. I just don't know what, but definitely it's out there. Definitely. You know, you get into that, oh, we're gonna cancel you, you're so mean. But we need men. That's how we evolved. We need women. We need them to nurture. We need men to protect. And certainly both can go out there. Like, both roles are, you know, switch. I believe it's Empire, Chimp Empire. I was just talking to you about that. It's a great, you know, some people don't like Netflix because of some of the stuff that is out there, and what you can't, you know, what gets, it's Chimp Empire. So one of, I think it's like the West group, great little thing, but there's not a lot of males in this group, so the females go out with the males to patrol and protect their borderlines, right? Where their fruit trees are and all that stuff, that the females go out there in this group. Now, the other group has way more males, the females don't. It's just, we need both. And to, you know, for lack of a better word, pussify all these boys. It's ridiculous. We need protectors. What are we going to do? I think it was Ike said the other day, like,
Yeah.
goodness gracious, if we have a Hitler come up, what are these kids going to do? Like, he's saying mean things to us. I think they're the kids. I see kids come through our program that, are the protectors, that they do want to stand up. They are out there. You had said to me this morning, like, no, the schools, is it their place to teach, obviously guns and all that stuff. But I'm like, these teenagers don't even know I'm teaching them how to disarm a gun. They don't know how to hold the gun. And it's the school system. Is it the parents? I know. And I said, hey, a lot of our parents are 2A parents, but how much training are the kids getting in time? Mm-hmm. And that's what the Citizen Defender program is fantastic. Of what we're doing. So that, you can get those fundamentals without going to the range, without spending hundreds of dollars on ammo. And the kids are way safer with a SIRT pistol than they are with a regular pistol. Yeah. Especially if you have 2 kids and you're like, hey, okay, downrange, and you got one kid with a finger on the trigger.
Right.
So, teaching them with the SIRT pistol is a great way to do it, but it's just so tough, Josh. I don't know how to get out. Besides, we need a leader. We need it from the top down, or is it the small groups like us? And there's so many other ones out there of like pushing these things. We need to make a change in, I think, how we're raising our kids. I made plenty of mistakes. As soon as I go back to, I'm divorced. Was that the right thing? My mom said, kids are resilient. I went, am I a happier parent? Am I going to be better at raising them? And then you run into all the divorce problems, all these things. And my oldest son doesn't want to talk to me. My adopted son doesn't want to talk to me because I thought I was doing the right things. I thought my adopted son always, I wasn't really dad, but I was. And, there was tough dynamics with my ex-wife. And, she was learning, right? Everybody's just trying to figure crap out. Oh, yeah. And I thought I would make it easier on him by not making him kind of choose me. Was that a mistake? Yeah, looking back, it was probably a mistake. Now, my oldest son doesn't want to talk to me because, I wouldn't give him college money to rent an apartment with his girlfriend. Hey, I was like, I'm a hopeless romantic kid. I just don't think it's the best idea. I'm not going to give you money to fund that. If you want to do that, go ahead. But of course, no, he doesn't want to talk to me either because of that. And, it's all tough being a parent, right? Yeah. You're just like, hey, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just trying to do the right thing that I think here and now. We all make mistakes, right? So it's tough. I don't know. I'm not perfect by any means, but, you look back and go, geez, maybe the way we're raising kids now and, trying to educate myself and read and look at different things. And you read this Civilized to Death book and you're like, geez, is it, I think there's another book out there and it was something to do with economics and the way we're raising kids. I forget the author, but he cites him in Civilized to Death. Yeah, it's just so interesting of like I said before, like now both parents are working. There's less touch and like interaction that the kids had. It is really...
They don't have to leave their house to have interaction.
Yeah, and it was more of a tribal thing. And that's where, I guess when I was, contemplating this, and I have not sent it to you, that I was thinking of a time, me and my friend, and I had one more in there, were riding our bikes, and we had set up jumps. Like my father, being in construction, there was plenty of sawhorses. There were plenty of Staging planks, and old school, not aluminum, guys. I'm talking old school 2.5 inch by 12 staging planks over by the barn, and we would make jumps all the time.
And we never wore
And
helmets.
oh yeah, helmets. I had my Huffy. Don't
Yeah.
laugh at my Huffy
I
joke.
loved Huffy. I did a Huffy too and a BMX,
I
whatever.
had my Huffy bike that we got at Child World down the road, and gosh, it was probably, and my wife would make like one socket. I can't even say it now. One socket, Rhode Island, because we were like a mile away from the Rhode Island border from where I grew up. So whenever you get those pictures, Josh,
Yeah.
let me know.
Oh, did you
Actually, I had
email 'em?
one more. I just sent you the pictures. So
Working it.
by no means is this the hood
Wait, what?
where I grew up. You're like, it's not. I mean, this is picturesque New England. So when you get them up, and I'm not live with you. You can kind of look at them and tell me which one you're looking at in there.
Yeah, let me get this first one. This looks like it's got a house in a corner. I'm going to break it in for everybody. So bear with us here. I didn't know John was going to send me some pictures. So
Yeah, we're making Josh work versus sit there.
I'm still technically working. My wife and I, she's like, all you do is press buttons. And I was like,
Tara, he's just pressing buttons.
I am not. That's like saying that all she does is count pills for a living. Don't ever say that. So over the top here, it's going to take over our screen. We've got it was the house in the corner. And I'm showing
Which
that
one? Which
there.
screen are you on?
The very first one that you put in the order.
So just mainly a tree and like the stone wall fence.
Yeah, and there's the red flowers just on the left-hand side, and then there's the streets going away from us, right? And there's some power lines, and there's a garage, two-car garage that looks really nice. It's a beautiful looking place, man.
Yeah, you can just scroll through them, but that's literally
Yeah.
the street, the old barn. It was yellow, and the
Yeah.
barn was brown. I think it was just siding in there.
So that was your old haunt, huh?
So that little circular driveway, we would there's a tiny hill, nothing compared to a Colorado, nothing. I think some of the little elevation changes in our rec path outside the gym for running and Project Fit have a bigger elevation, but it had, quote, a hill for Massachusetts, where we were. I mean, there are bigger hills, but they're nothing compared to Colorado and the Rockies. But we would come down that, we'd hit the driveway, right? Hit a jump or come out of the driveway. You can see the little bit of a slope there, get a little bit of speed, hit jumps in the street. But backing away, if you're looking at the one with the garage and then the colonial house, there's just a little hill past those red flowers, like 25, 50 feet,
Yeah.
a little slope. There's actually two barns, and I was looking at it. Looks like they've torn down one of them, unfortunately. Part of the original, this was built in the 1700s, 1760, something crazy.
Because it
There was
looked
two
old,
barns across the street that were originally part of the whole homestead. But now across the street, where there was a driveway and a house that had that kind of 5 acres, 2.5 acres, I think, something like around there. There's now a street going down to another subdivision, but
Wow.
but a lot of the street is there. There looks like most of the stuff is kind of an acre-ish lot, so it's nice. It's not like so many of these Colorado developments where it's the minimum fire code for your next door neighbor. So I just remember that guy stopping because we had come out of the driveway and in front of him, and now this guy is yelling at me, and of course I'm scared because you're kind of mad, like, whatever, don't tell it, you're like, we were, gosh, third grade, fourth grade at the most, because I was not there in fifth grade. We moved out this summer, moved to Nantucket Island the summer after fourth grade. So gosh, I could have been in second grade. I have no idea, but we're hitting jumps. But this guy's now yelling at us like I could have killed. I'm sure I shocked the crap out of him. Right? He was scared that he was going to run a kid over. right? But he's yelling like people have been like, gosh, if I yelled at, I mean, well, I've beeped at kids. I mean, my kids probably have, or probably somebody like that guy in the Rocky Mountain Jeep yelled at us. Go tell their parents, whatever. I mean, I've had kids throw stuff at the street. You're like, stop, and be like, what are you guys doing?
Really?
But it takes the quote village to raise kids, and that's how the extended family, everybody in the tribe trying to help. Now you say something to somebody's kid,
They want to sue you or
and
come
they're
after you.
mad.
Yeah.
Just actually on Sunday, I have no idea. I'm kind of cleaning out the garage a little bit and working in the front, thatching the front grass. And I don't, who knows what the mom said. Again, I've made tons of mistakes, but she's yelling at, looks like she comes in with another car and they were looking for the son. And you've been gone for 2 hours, get inside. And I'm like, okay, hey, maybe, I don't know, right? There's a gazillion what ifs. But I'm like, I was out behind there. Either side, guys, is just woods, like you kind of see behind the house. We had a garden. We had a really big backyard. Not that if you kind of scroll, the one picture is our side yard.
The
You can see the stone wall kind of curves around,
Yep,
and there's a
yep,
house way in the back in the
yep.
trees.
I got it up.
Okay, so that house was not there. My parents sold a piece over there.
Yeah.
In the far right, there was a pond. Spent plenty of time in a canoe in that little pond, unsupervised
Oh.
in there. I mean, you could certainly drown, but it was not that deep.
It was fun.
Depending on how much water, it could get really deep if we had a wet spring. But that house wasn't there.
Yeah.
We used to play baseball over here. We were in the back playing all the time, like for hours and hours, building forts. But now get inside. I feel like so many of these parents, and I think it's a mistake, let them go outside and learn. I mean, it's just not me. I mean, Reed, civilized to death. He's smarter than me. These kids need unsupervised play to learn how to be adults. So many of these parents are helicopter parents, right? Everybody knows that terminology. I think it's crazy. We need to change and let them be kids. We were out there playing around. I mean, plenty of stuff happened on the street. It's picturesque New England. But there was, at one point around this wooded New England area, there was broad daylight chainsaw thieves that were breaking into the houses with chainsaws. And nobody really thought anything of it.
Wow.
Broad daylight. There was, oh gosh, one, because shit happens. But there was a kidnapping and a murder up the road. It was in Rhode Island, I believe, over the border, but it was up this little street into the woods. There was a, quote, cave, but it was mainly,
Okay.
it was some rock formations, and it was a little bit more hilly up at the top, because actually it got to be a pretty nice hill that we could book down. Like it was a good New England hill that would go down and get tons of momentum on as kids. But we tried to find it as kids.
Yeah.
We went off on the adventure. I think it was either Dana or Andrew got stung by bees as we were crossing this little stream, and we had to ditch his bike and tell our parents what we were doing. So then Dana's dad was a cop, they took us there to see it. Like, hey, this is where this girl was abducted. I think there was still like a blanket left in there.
Oh, that's weird. That's creepy.
But, hey, these things happen. Now, were we banished to the house? No, we were still out there. As kids, I think we need to look at how we're raising our kids. And God, hey, I've made plenty of mistakes, but give them more freedom. 1975 out there, 76, in that zone, things happened everywhere. But are we overprotecting our kids, or we've got to monitor every little thing that these kids do and like let them work it out and figure out there's a pecking order.
Yeah. My mom
Within,
wouldn't let us back in the house.
yeah,
She's, if it got warm, you were outside. When the sun started to go down, you would listen for mom to yell, "It's time to come home." That was summer, every day when I was a kid.
yeah, or be back when the street lights come on.
Yeah, that was if we
We
were
didn't
too
have
far
street
away.
lights on this street. So
We did.
come back when it's dark.
Hey, how far would you ride on your bike? Like dude, there were some places I went far
Yeah, we
on my
went pretty
bike.
far. We'd go pretty far. A lot of times we would stick to the street, and there was a street behind there. That's
Okay.
where Dana lived. He lived behind
Yeah.
our house, which, you're like, I guess I can't. I mean, it was like 5 acres ish, and like his. So you'd go through the woods. We had a big, big garden. I mean, it was probably like it wasn't a football field, but it was, it
Really?
was a good 75
Wow.
yards maybe back there. And then we would go back through the woods, and we still weren't to Dana's house. We had tons of forts back there, but we would go up and down those streets. We would go into Rhode Island, but we probably, we probably went all the way to where it was a much bigger road. I mean, that little road is how it is. But it was, a very busy 2 lane. It's probably 4 lanes now. But then, that went into really a bigger section of Rhode Island. But there was a farm at the end. We drove there, and it was like busy cars. And, if you went another few miles, then it was Child World and, the old stuff. And it was actually where I first saw like a karate school. I
Cool.
remember like I can't quite remember, I'm like, what's that? I don't know if I had an interest or if my parents were like, yeah, we can't afford it. I don't know. Like, I might not have said anything, but I remember being like, how is that karate? I'm like, what
What is
the
that?
heck's that? It was, there was a couple of those type of places, but I just remember going to Child World. That was where I got my Huffy bike. I believe my grandfather bought it. One of my grandfathers bought it for me. And I remember moving to Nantucket and kids made fun of me.
For a Huffy?
Yeah,
You got a
because they
bike
had,
now.
I forget, what is
The
it, a
BMX or the
Predator?
or
I don't
Diamond or
know.
something. There was always
Everybody
yeah.
had a way better bike.
And then the pegs
Fancy
and the
Nantucket.
wheels so you could ride on the back.
There were so many kids. But, kids back then, like, were you 5th grade? You might have a little summer job and who knows. But yeah, they were way better than Huffy. I forget. I mean, is it a Predator?
Diamondback? Diamondback.
Maybe, yeah, that was definitely a
Everybody
brand. I
wanted a
just like had a
Diamondback when I was a kid.
Predator. I just wanted like a real
Right.
Predator or something like, I'm like, but I got made fun of, and you're like, what,
Whatever.
you're gonna get made fun of. You're like, all right, my bike's not cool here.
We used to ride to abandoned
It
copper
had numbers
mines.
on it too. It was like number
Oh,
56. I think I took off the numbers to make it cooler because people were like, oh, number 56 when you race, and you're like, no.
no. It's just on the bike.
Should have lied. I mean, what?
Yeah, I do.
But yeah, I did.
BMX.
I did back home. There's no racing around here. But I think we're making some mistakes with kids. We gotta realize what we're doing as a society. We've got to make a change. Prescription drugs. I think
Yeah.
there's just so much we need from, and the big money doesn't want to change, right? Because they're making
Making
money.
money off
The
all
small,
these drugs.
like the wealth is held with the greater wealth. It's just crazy. It's such a small percentage of the human population, the global population. There's just so much wealth being held by such a select small few. How do we make a change as a smaller guy? We've got to demand it, right? We've got to demand it. We've got to vote. We've got to make
Stop
change. Go
buying it.
like, we don't want prescription drugs like advertised and like, oh, that's the answer. Like, there's got to be other answers because we grew up, we evolved without these drugs and we didn't need them. But all of a sudden now we need a drug for everything. I'm like, get in shit. We're like,
Ozempic?
yes, there's times for anything, right? People are in more pain now. I think we talked about that last time.
Yeah,
People are in more
absolutely.
pain.
And we have an opioid problem.
I mean, at a certain point, we're humans, we're going to die. Like, how long are we extending it? And is it quality of life? Yes, there's times for chemotherapy and whatever drug there is. But I think now we're just a prescription culture. Like, I don't feel good. Oh, I'm fat. Let me take a freaking prescription. I don't think that's the answer, guys. But hey, guys with more money are telling you and convincing you with their mini freaking movie of a commercial and
All the time.
convincing you you're going to be happy. And if you look at the side
Yeah.
effects and if you read and look at these things, I've talked about it before. What is that book I talked about? Prescription.
I don't remember. You talked about a bunch of books.
I know that book. It's fantastic. But it's on prescriptions and healthcare. I'm gonna forget. I'm sorry, guys. I'm blanking on it,
We're all
but you
about
could
treating
Google it.
symptoms.
It's just changing our culture, and do we really need it? And the side effects and everything else, and even people getting what they want out of that drug is not even 50%, I believe. So it's like, really 50% of you? I don't want to be taking something like that. But people are just looking for the easy button. I talked about it, like, struggle, guys. Do something, but let's all look at it. How can we be better as a society, as parents? It's tough stuff, guys. I know, but we've got to make a change. We've got to call for it. I don't know. Besides I go, I'll run for president. Somebody's got to
Good
make a
luck.
freaking change. But how do you do that? You need, because what was it? What did I say?
$1
Like,
billion.
is it how many million?
Oh, just to start something like 200 million? I mean,
Yeah, I forget. I mean, what they spent, what Trump spent on that last one, and what Biden spent on that one. Was it a billion each or something crazy?
well, through the whole thing, I think it was about $1 billion each, but there were certain segments where they were spending about $100,000 a month on just advertising, on all of that craziness. So you have to have a huge war chest, as they call it, right? Just to have a hope and a prayer. And then if you do get that much money, are you going to be allowed to participate in the debates and all that stuff? So it's like
Yeah,
the whole system's kind of I don't know, it feels like I only get two choices.
yeah, we need a
You know,
grassroots write-in. Like, I don't know. I don't want to
you can write
really
in the
go
name for
through. I hate
president.
the YouTube comments. Can I brush it off? Sure. But nobody wants it, right? Nobody out there. Joe Rogan doesn't want it. Jocko doesn't want it. Nobody really wants to have the personal assault on themselves and their family. But those are we've got to shut those voices up and make a freaking change before it's too late. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
I'm not seeing anybody out there. I was really hoping that somebody like a Joe Rogan, which really kind of looks at both sides, and we need left and right, and that's the world. We need different points of view, but it's so polarized. I don't know what we can do out there to make a change in America, but if we don't, it's bad. It's
We're not gonna
I
have
don't
anything.
I don't know where we go, and hey, it's the zombie quote apocalypse. It's civil war. It's China invading us, and
I hope not.
there's so many. It's just crazy. But we've got to make a change with our kids politically. We need to make a change. These big giant companies controlling the narrative, and is it the correct narrative, or are they following kind of the wrong thing? They don't know that it's the wrong narrative. They think they're doing right, right? So many people think what they're doing is right. That's why
That's
we need
yeah.
a good balance. That's why we need to, I think we really need to make a big political change, this two-party system and controlling everything. They need to be out of there quicker. That would be one of my things, the common sense party.
Common
And
sense.
then you're out. Let's just try to run with common sense and human interest is a global, like, human interest of what we're doing here in America. Let that filter out, because it's crazy out there. I mean, there was a civilized to death. Toddlers, like, are less active in the short period that they looked. They monitored, like, these kids are barely active. There's something that begins with myo something. It's an eye disorder or disease. What was it?
Myocarditis?
Yes, I think so. That more kids are getting, because they're
Quote me
not
on
going
that.
outside. They're not going outside, so they're suffering, like, and they're looking at screens and all this stuff. Guys, let's make a change.
Phones.
It's got to start small, and it sucks, right? Making a change to work out sucks, and doing all this stuff, trying to make this change. I feel like this change maybe might feel like, for some people, of like starting exercise and try to lose the 50 pounds, but you just got to start. I don't know what to do besides, hey, I'll run. I'll take the heat. We've got to make a change. And then you bring in smarter people, but it's freaking common sense, guys. Sometimes, like, guys, I sometimes feel the smarter these people are, the dumber they are. But
Oh, yeah.
we've got to do something, guys, or it's our kids, our grandkids, and the rate of change that we're seeing now, it's really going to be, where's my daughter? Where's my sons when they're 50? What's it going to look like? We've got to make a change. We've got to start. So, guys, get out there, make a change, try to do something positive. Just talk about this stuff, that just talk, maybe boycott Netflix. I don't know. Josh, roll that music, because it's time to get the heck out of here and get some people in shape with Project Fit that I've got coming up here. Hey, if you're looking for self-defense, fitness, pistol craft, rmsdf.com is our sponsor here of the John Hallett podcast. Look, guys, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I'm just trying to suck less. Look for that PDF coming soon, guys. I'm out.